Happy New Year, horror hereticals! As we enter the first day of 2026, KK will deliver my top 10 horror features of the year of 2025. Looking at the Golden Globes nomination, which usually kickstart the award season, you could see Ryan Coogler's Sinners and Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein flying the flag for the horror genre, with Amy Madigan rightfully nominated for her role as Aunt Gladys in Weapons. In the box office, Warner Brothers Studio raked in massive earnings from 4 horror movies in the year of 2025. Sinners, Weapons, The Conjuring Last Rite, and Final Destination Bloodlines generated a combined earning of close to US $1.4 billion. Danny Boy's 28 Years Later also netted about $150 million, which might be a good sign for Bone Temple to be released in January. Horror movies have found its footing in other parts of the world, especially the popularity in Southeast Asia, as well as places like Taiwan, India, and China. Europe, South America, as well as Australia and New Zealand had also made their mark in 2025. So among the 60-odd movies released in 2025 I've caught up with, which 10 will be in my ranking? Let's begin. In number 10, we have Sing Sot, Sri Lan Kematian, or loosely translated as The Whistle of Death, written and directed by Wahyu Agung Prasetyo, based on his own short film from 2016. The story was about young Ipong being haunted by apparitions because he did the thing that adults would frown upon, which was to whistle during sunset. This folklore, which was well known even in contemporary times in Indonesia, Malaysia and Singapore, felt like something to keep young kids in their place and be home for dinner before sunset. However, there were evidence to draw that such taboo was not baseless, and Wahyu had created a film with visuals to really scare children and adults alike. The nostalgia of the old village and some memorable scares that were extracted from the crevices of our deepest childhood fear, for example the ghost under the bed, had propelled Sing Sot on the top of all the indoor horror I've caught this year. Indonesia in recent years had a bounty full of horror movies which combined local laws and cultural remnants with young attractive casts and doused in extreme gore. Sing Sot had the folklore part and worked on the scares immaculately. In a year when my favourite working Indonesian director Joko Anwar made a thriller and will be returning with a horror comedy in 2026, there was little to fascinate me from Indonesia like Sing Sot. Coming in at number 9 is The Ugly Stepsister from Norwegian director Emily Blichfeldt, who also wrote the screenplay. Taking reference to the Grimm brothers' version of Cinderella or Aschenputtel, before the Disneyfication of the source material, Blichfeldt wrote a story in the perspective of the stepsisters who might not be as evil as they were painted to be. Similarly, Cinderella might not be as amiable as we thought. Elvira, the elder daughter of Rebecca, who married the father of Cinderella in this story, had been coerced to be selected as the bride of the Prince Charming so that her conniving mother could live a lavish life forever. A satire on how children had been molded for their parents' benefits in a period setting, The Ugly Stepsister continued the use of body horror to tell stories in the female's perspective, not unlike Julia Ducournau's Raw, or my number 1 movie of last year, Coralie Fagier's The Substance. A whimsical setting with Blichfeldt's ability to create a period setting within her budget, you can see her interest in new romanticism, which made the body horror parts of the movie stood out even more. Key moments like the consumption of the tapeworm larva, the nose augmentation, and of course the part with the chopper and Elvira's foot will leave that indelible mark in me for always. It's crazy what a Japanese horror at 10,000 meters in the air and a cup of umeshu can do to you, as we have Yaguchi Shinobu's Dollhouse in the 8th place of this ranking. Japanese horror scenes, or more affectionately known as J-horror, have been on the back seat since the heydays of Ringu, Audition, and Ju-on. As much as the Japanese people's interest for ghost stories or horror videos or photographs, as well as seeing people exploring what they call Shinrei Spotto. A decent J-horror movie is hard to come by these days. There have been many psychological horror affairs, but those that go into supernatural and folklore were always spin-off or remakes of older intellectual properties like Sadako or Kayako. Dollhouse, which delved into a mother's gut-wrenching loss of a daughter due to her own oversight and thought a doll could be used as a replacement. Of course, seeing the doll encased in a glass box with eerie-looking talisman was not a red flag enough. The blatant disregard of the same doll when a newborn arrived to the family was going to spell trouble. What director Yaguchi delivered was nothing novel. Many people would even scoff at Dollhouse to be a below-standard J-horror with how the scares were created. But somehow, the scary doll storyline, coupled with the grieving of a lost child and subsequent harm to the new child by the cursed doll, worked on me. The review of Dollhouse is also the most watched video on my channel to date, so perhaps it captured the attention of 2,000 viewers as well. From Brothers director team Danny and Michael Filippo, we have Bring Her Back for the lucky number 7 slot. The sophomore movie from the Filippos, after the successful Talk to Me from 2023, was not too different from Dollhouse, with a mother mourning the tragic passing of a child and could not think logically and went out of control, doing things that will likely incriminate the mother in this case. In my review, I labelled Bring Her Back as another elevated horror that their distributor A24 loved, and without giving too much context on the scary rituals and what evil lurking in the darkness from the flagrant use of such human sacrificial rituals, the Filippo was still able to stir the emotions of the audience and kept us on the edge of our seat, mainly down to the heinous nature of the humankind. Employing Sally Hawkins in the villainous role of Laura was a Midas touch, and the actress could switch on from a caring foster mother to an unscrupulous black arts practitioner who would go the distance to remove any obstacles en route to accomplish her mission. The scary boy Oliver and the skin-crawling harm he inflicted on himself, as well as the others, were also hard to forget, as much as I wanted to. At the end of the day, it will be convenient to compare Bring Her Back with Talk to Me, which felt similar yet stood as stark contrast with each other. This signified the expertise of the Filippo brothers and hope they take their time to write and make their next film. At number 6, we have yet another interesting take on a body horror from another Aussie director with Michael Shanks Together. A whimsical take on a young couple's relationship on rocky terms, and a relocation would make or break it, but one would never envision the couple coming together in a literal sense. Another mysterious law in a strange, uncharted land, without the filmmaker laying everything out nicely for you. You just have to buy into the stories of the characters and their experience with the crazy ride and be tickled by what transpired on screen. Alison Brie and James Franco were actors who I felt ill-fitted for their casting, yet their chemistry were on point and their characters were endearing till the end. The choice of using a classic Spice Girls track also added a lot of nostalgia and worked so seamlessly into the plot. Certainly the most fun pop song tie-up in a movie for me this year. This is another movie that took a leaf off the page of the substance and what it had done to put body horror to the mainstream. As we reach the halfway point, let us remember those we have lost this year who had contributed so much to the horror movies we love over the years.
Set the table like you're running late. Fork by the window, your old favorite plate. Laugh in the hallway, then remember why it's still so still. I hold you in the quiet more than any photograph. You live in little phrases, in the way I miss your laugh. Every breath I'm breathing is a thread that you once spun. You're gone from here, but in my heart, you're still the closest one. you slipped into the room too soon. I hold you in the quiet more than any photograph. You live in little phrases, in the way I miss your laugh. Every breath I'm breathing is a thread that you once spun. You're gone from here, but in my heart you're still the closest one. Some days I'm breaking over coffee in a crowded place. Some days I'm weightless when I swear I feel your hand on my face. If love is the answer, then love never ends. You changed in a memory, but you're still my friend. I hold you in the quiet more than any photograph. You live in little phrases, in the way I miss your laugh. Every breath I'm breathing is a thread that you once spun. You're gone from here, but in my heart you're still the closest one.
In fifth placing, we have Companion, another cautionary tale of overindulgence on artificial intelligence leading to a road of pain, written and directed by Drew Hancock. This plot for a horror feature had been well exhausted with Megan and Subservience with Megan Fox, and even in 2025 we have Megan 2.0, and in 2026 we will have Soulmate from Kate Dolan. Even Charlie Brooker had used this low-hanging fruit for a couple of his stories in Black Mirror. What made Companion stood out for me was the reversal of roles in this tale when, something like what we have seen in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, the human character would assume the role of the antagonist, and it was not hard to root for the inanimate object that turned sentient for survival. Hancock created a weekend getaway for a nervy guy, bringing his brand new robot companion, and awaiting scathing remarks from his snarky friends, only to turn the table around, which was an enthralling ride. Like Together, the casting of Sophie Thatcher in the lead role of Iris and Jack Quaid as Josh worked a splendor. Thatcher and Quaid had track records in horror films and brought their A-game in Companion. As we are closing into the podium, we have Dangerous Animals from director Sean Byrne in the 4th position. This Shark Attack feature completed a fruitful year from the Aussie cohort of talented horror storytellers. Written by Nick Laporte, Dangerous Animals, like many of the movies in this ranking, implode on the fact of how evil human beings can be, that any supernatural entity, any sentient beings went rogue, or any wild animals who naturally will beg for blood in their natural environment. A roller coaster ride saw how our damsel in distress fought tooth and nail to survive, and it felt like the odds were badly stacked against her for the majority of the movie. Jai Courtney proved once again that he was more comfortable in his skin as an antagonist that audience wanted so badly to bring down, and his nefarious fetish document how his victims would struggle with lost cause for survival against one of the Earth's most dangerous predators. Dangerous Animals is a classic example of a fantastic movie that came with little fanfare, but intrigued me for the entirety of the runtime. For the second runner-up, I'm sure it will be many people's number one choice with Zach Cregger's Weapons. The marketing for the movie came at the heels of Barbarian. Cregger's highly rated directorial debut from 2022 was stealthy, featuring just children running eerily on a dimly lit street in the middle of the night. An unfathomable mystery shrouding a small town in Pennsylvania, which delved into the disappearance of an entire class of second graders. This was the most chilling prospects for parents, the school, and the community. Even with latest technology to record the whole disappearance act, no one had a sliver of clue what had happened to those children. Suspicions definitely reared its head on the form teacher, who was as badly affected as the parents, yet she had no support group. The most tragic story befell on the only child that did not disappear. I enjoyed Cregger's choice to tell the story through the perspective of different characters and the intertwining of their stories. Reminded me of a movie like Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia or Alejandro Inarritu's Babel. It felt like when you do this kind of movie right, these movies will be award season darlings. Weapons gave us the most memorable and I would say the only iconic horror villain for 2025, but seeing Benedict Wong with his crazy eyes protruded out of his sockets and running unnaturally in the streets can be a terrifying sight as well. In the role of the bridesmaid, we have Sinners from writer-director Ryan Coogler. It was really a toss-up between Weapons and Sinners for me, and both movies that reaped such immense box office earnings for Warner Brothers Studio made a mainstream studio horror offering, both with a talented ensemble of actors working on a vision from the director, which when the stars aligned would be a horror classic. I think in both cases it realized. While the plot of Weapons hit closer to home, Sinners was an amazing take of the 1930s America under the Jim Crow law when racial profiling was non-existent, as there was almost no rights for people of certain racial profile. One could expect nothing less from Coogler to work on commentary on racial inequalities, yet it was apparent he had fun doing it on the horror genre, which came in as a surprise. His cast, including Michael B. Jordan, Hailey Steinfeld, Delroy Lindo, Jack O'Connor, and Wunmi Musaku also had a lot of fun speaking in that southern accent and messing around with hoodoo rituals and fighting the KKK. I hope you catch my comparison with Robert Rodriguez from Dusk Till Dawn because it was so apparent. Aside from the unnecessary epilogue, which I suppose Coogler used to emphasize the fact that a sequel is not in his mind, Sinners was such a fun ride for me. Okay, not exactly a big surprise. I made a proclamation in the review itself, but Good Boy from writer-director Ben Liongbert, which tells a harrowing story of a haunted house through the eyes of a pet dog. In my review, I revealed how harmed to our canine friends hold more significance from the paltry human owners, and with Indy's mesmerizing performance, Liongbert was able to tell a story at a concise and tight runtime of merely 73 minutes, about a chronically sick person making the worst choice of his life, recuperating in a haunted house known for the demise of the previous owner. The story was not too unconventional and really banked upon what Indy the dog could do on screen, having no notable human actors, in fact hiding them in the background until the end, effectively put the limelight on Indy, and he did not disappoint. There were barely any jump scares, but when it transpired, it certainly freaked me out. Liongbert also used traditional horror movie making techniques like strobing lights and staring into dark corners, and Indy's as a conduit helped to drive up the tension. I felt Good Boys as a novel way of telling a horror story should only work once, even though you will have a better trained canine actor in the future, even changing the scenery or escalating the supernatural threats. Whatever that came after this movie will feel like a second fiddle. That said, I do hope some talented filmmakers out there could prove me wrong. There you have it, my top 10 horror movies for 2025, which I hope I have covered most notable titles released which is accessible to me. As of this moment, the title slated to be released in 2026 did not feel like it could supersede the output we had for the previous 2 years. But as what I said in Dangerous Animals, I'm hopeful to be surprised with some under-the-radar releases in the coming 12 months. I hope all of you who caught up with this ranking can contribute with your own ranking for the year, and we could discuss on my choices in the comments. I'm open for any discussion. Please help to like and share if you could. It will really help with this tiny channel of mine. And if you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I really hope to cross the 100 subs mark by this year. Thank you once again for the support and stay tuned for more reviews on KK's Horror Heretics.